YouTube channel sponsored by Cameron Commercials. If you're looking for a quality new and used van, go to CameronCommercials.com. Sean's your man, he'll help you out with that quality vehicle for your business. So, Football Show, delighted to have your company. Don't forget, if you want to join the football family, hit the subscribe button, and you've got so much content right across all of our social media channels. But of course, YouTube is where we are on regularly with our content. What a change to the Friday. Alan Rough is here. We've brought out the big guns today, Stephen McGowan and Hugh McDonald. It's been a while since you two have been in the same studio together.
I know, we've patched things up.
Absolutely, and I'm delighted you're here, Hugh. Anyway, lots to talk about, and as ever, it's gone right down to the wire. So finally, we are going to have to call it with one game left. So there's no U-turning now, Roughie. We're all going to give our opinion. It's only seconds away. You can give us your opinion as well as it goes down to Celtic against Hearts. And there's been so much this week that Scottish football just keeps on giving. Derek McInnes believes questions need to be asked about refereeing and VAR decisions. Martin O'Neill says everyone outside Celtic wants Hearts to win the title. Danny Rohl stands by his decision not to select James Tavernier to start in their defeat to Hibs. And Jens Bertholaskau says Scottish football needs more investment. So there you have it. That's just a few of the topics we'll be discussing from today's press conferences and looking ahead to all 6 matches across Saturday and Sunday. And the elite quiz, courtesy of Elite Joinery and Fire Protection, is quite simply this. How many domestic honours has Callum McGregor won?
Ooh.
There's a belter, Roughie. You want to have a go? Without,
I'll be miles out.
Well, to be honest, it's only a quiz question. It doesn't really need any.
I'll go 26.
26.
24.
24.
I'll go lower than that. I'll go 20.
20. Okay, we'll give you the answer by the end of today. Thank God we're answering this one now, because by tomorrow things could change, or indeed they could stay the same, and that's where you come in. Give us your thoughts on all things Scottish football, and of course the big one, which is quite simply the showdown. And in a week like this, Hugh, have you ever witnessed anything like it? It's been absolutely incredible. Some of the hysteria has been incredible as well.
I think the one about this week is that it's just been so widespread. You know, Gary Lineker with his vast knowledge of Scottish VAR decisions, you know, coming into it, and Alan Shearer coming into it, and I'm just waiting for Trump to get back from China, and we'll see something in Truth Social. Thanks for your attention. This VAR has to be addressed. I think the level of it has been extraordinary. One of the things, of course, is because it's such a big decision and such a big moment in the title race. But the other thing, I think it's been exacerbated because of the Hearts situation. I think Hearts stories seeped. I see they were in the New York Times today. So that Hearts story seeped out. And I think Martin O'Neill is right today that the most people, I would think, would want Hearts to win the league outside Celtic and Hibs, and about 4 Aberdeen fans that I saw up at the Simi-Do. The Aberdeen fans are not on board the Hearts bandwagon at the moment. But beyond that, I think it's understandable that people want Hearts to win the league.
Well, listen, the other thing that I think, before the hysteria continues to seep in here, before we eventually digest and discuss what's going to unfold over the weekend with this showdown, is quite simply that, you know, from Henry Winter, Gary Lineker, Alan Shearer, you name it, everybody with a huge following has had their say. We've all had our say on it, but I think a lot of people, whether you are of a green, a blue or a maroon persuasion, have to bear in mind the facts, and the hard facts are quite simply from that game, which now gives Celtic a chance to win the league if they can defeat Hearts. Quite simply, Stephen McGowan, is the VAR official instructed the referee to go and analyse what he thought was a clear and obvious penalty, and he had to make the call, and he decided it was a penalty. That is all that you have to take into consideration. The rest of the noise, and I include all of us in it, and I include people who are commenting from afar, is irrelevant now.
Well, interesting you say clear and obvious penalty, because there's one other set of criteria under which you can send a referee, which is if the referee's missed it.
Yes.
And I suspect that's what's happened.
Yep.
I think John Beaton has missed it, and he has gone over there to have a look at it. He's made a quick decision. And I watched a clip last night, actually. It was Willie Collum on the VAR review show. And it showed up online, and it was he was talking about a previous handball where I think Hibs got a penalty against Falkirk. And it was a clip of a Falkirk player with two hands up like that, the ball struck his hands, and Willie Collum was quite clear that if you put your hands up that high, then you're running the risk, you're taking that peril into your own hands. Now, if the referees feel that that is the guidance, that is instruction, that's what they are expected to abide by, then they kind of have to go with it. Now, for me, I've got a general problem with VAR. I think it's not going to do what it's supposed to do because people see what they want to see with VAR. That's the problem with it. People look through eyes and tinted specs depending on what team they support. Celtic fans think it's a penalty. Fans of other teams who want Hearts to win or whatever, they say, no chance. And that's the problem. You can never get past that. It can never achieve perfection. It might get to 98% accuracy. It'll never get to 100%. Another 2% can cause another world war. And then, of course, you've got the fact in Scotland where you've got slightly poundland cameras, you've got a highly toxic tribal environment, and you've got officials who quite often leave a lot to be desired, as is evidence by the fact they're not going to the World Cup in America. So, for me, there are bigger questions over VAR and over the handball rule and over how often VAR gets involved in these things, because I think they're getting involved in things they shouldn't be getting involved in.
Well, let me tell you this, Roughie, and I'm not in any way trying to be some kind of prophet on this, but, Martin Neal's had his comment, which he says out with Celtic. The majority, he thinks, and he may well just be playing the old mind games here as well, that the majority want Hearts to win the title. Even if you're a neutral, even if you're looking at it and saying, will it benefit Scottish football? All and sundry have had their opinion on that. But what I would suggest to you is this. If, knowing the way things have gone over the last, 5-10 years, and you've been involved in it at Partick Thistle as well, if Celtic win the title tomorrow, there'll be all hell let loose, people calling for inquiries, not happy with it, want the whole thing changed. There'll be people absolutely going mental because Celtic have snatched it on the last day, and then people will want forensic looking back and then analysing and calling for change. It is a stonewall certainty.
But as you've said on the show on numerous occasions, when the cup's handed out, it's not going to say tainted on it. It's going to say winners. And we'll move on, and it'll be by and gone out the window, and I think we're right in what we're saying. We brought in VAR to tidy up things. That was the reason we brought them in. I don't think anybody initially thought there was a hand there. When I saw it initially, first, no hand for me. I couldn't see a hand anywhere. And that's why we had VAR, to clear these things up. But now we clear it up, certain people don't fancy it. The guys, I've always had a problem with handball. I think it's ridiculous that you should get a free hit at goal for that, for a handball outside the 18-yard box where it's not going anywhere near the goal. It's not going to stop a goal. I think that should be looked at and changed. Direct free kick, something like that. But to get a free shot at goal just because somebody in the momentum of getting up with their hand is accidentally touching his hand, they get a penalty.
Hugh, the other aspect of this is that by the time we get to a week from now as well, Willie Collum will try and explain it all away, and he's certainly not going to come out and say we made a mistake, because that would actually open up the gates of hell.
Well, see, the thing about it is, when the more you read into the IFAB rules and all that, there's no sort of binary, there's no room for ambiguity over this. If your hands are up like that, it doesn't matter if you're protecting your face or it's the great biomechanics argument. If it's there, but if it's there, that's it. You're domino, you're done. And the fact of the matter is that John Beaton, there's been so many spurious and just inconsequential arguments, he only took 30 seconds to look at this. This is from people who keep going, how does it take VAR 4 minutes to you know, I mean, and if he had have taken 4 minutes to look at this, of course, John Beam said, well, it couldn't have been clear and obvious if he took, you know, everybody's got their thing. So he's come over, and this is what I suspect has happened. He's come over, Andrew Dallas says, I think you've missed a possible handball, and we'll hear this from audio, a possible handball in the penalty box. I suggest you have a look at it. He says, right, it comes across. And all he's got to look at is, does it hit the hand in the position of the hands? And he's went, tick 1, tick 2. It doesn't take much more to do that, and said, it's a penalty. And I think next week, Willie Callum will come out, and there's been possible leaks on this. I think Callum will come out and say, listen, this is it. According to those, that's a pen.
Yeah. But
Are you convinced it did take his hand?
Well, I don't think you can be convinced of anything, because the big problem now with that is that I see pictures online that suggest absolutely it picked that. But in the background is there's Zabruder filming the Kennedy assassination, and somebody's landing on the moon.
The only thing worse for Scottish football than VAR has been artificial intelligence.
Because
Terrible
Can I tell you
combination.
something, Stephen, though? In the ground, on the night, because I was sitting in the press box, when the ball goes in, you're looking actually, and there's seconds to go. And when he throws that ball in, when Austin Trustig is down, I'm thinking, has he taken one on the face? But I never thought it was. I never thought it was going to VAR. I didn't even think there was any suggestion whatsoever of a penalty. Because, and by the way, I'm quite a distance away, so I haven't seen what you could see would be a clear one. But I think Hugh's point is pertinent here. It's just a straightforward, hold on, we've got seconds left, I need you to go and look at this.
I wonder if he was actually looking initially at the perceived elbow, the VAR, and then he's kind of stumbled across the handball thing. I mean,
know what they do though, Stephen? They go possible whatever, delay.
Yeah.
Don't do anything because we are looking at something. So at that point, that's when he's called over to have a look at what they explain. And I can't wait to hear the audio, but they explain it. But I've even heard some pundits saying it didn't even hit his hand. You know, this is how mental it's all gone.
His hand, I mean, mental is a word. I mean, the last few days, I mean, Sky could have been renamed Sky Physics the other night. No, not to be awful, but you're sitting there discussing the laws of physics on national TV. You've got guys out in the street filming how far you can get a ball to go with your hand.
I thought those boys really put a lot of thought. Like, let's get the ball out. Get the camera right.
Grief, you know, and listen, I think we have seen a level of comment which I think sometimes has been a bit irresponsible. Because ultimately, I tend to subscribe to the theory that as old Bernard Ingham, Margaret Thatcher's old press secretary, said, look, it's not conspiracy, it's cock-up. If referees make a mistake, if we accept they're not the best pool of referees we've ever had in the history of the game, then we have to accept that they are making errors. They are not engaged in some kind of conspiracy. But some of the comment we've heard from people who should know better, grown men who should know better, I think has been dangerous.
What's also left me absolutely bewildered, because as you know, I'm an aficionado of politics. I love it, whether it's in Britain or whether it's in America, is I can't believe that you've quoted Bernard Ingham, Margaret Thatcher conspiracy and cock-up, because there are so many things I could throw in there on that. I wish he hadn't used that as the backup to it, but nevertheless, at the end of the day, I'm not surprised by it. I'm not surprised by the lunacy that's gone on. Because
there's two reasons on this fight. What has happened, and I'm not making any general criticism here, because it's just the way it's going. It's the way television wants it. It's the way radio stations wants it. The way we've gone now, it's just, you know, it's shock jock. Just say what you want when you want to say it.
No, what they've gone with, Hugh, just I'll add a wee caveat to that, and then you can digest it. What they've gone with is, let's have just blatant fandom on the telly. If you're a pundit or you're a former player, let's have flag wavers, because that's what they want to hear. And what's happening now is, if we all pass comment and it doesn't go across the way somebody else's narrative is, they'll go, he's a Tim, he's a Celtic fan, he went to this school, he did this. Nobody's got any credibility in that. If you want to deal with the knuckle draggers who are into the gutter, you just, as Alistair Johnson said today, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, you've lost it.
Aye.
You've lost it.
But the thing about it is there's been, the interesting point, I think Stephen mentioned it, is what still can we believe? You know, do we all believe here it hit his hand? Do you all believe that Sam Nicholson...
No, I believe his hand was in an unnatural position.
That hit the ball,
and
Stephen?
if that's the rule,
He
then...
probably did, yeah. aye.
Probably.
But then Celtic released a unique angle last night, which I think some fans embraced as showing that it... And actually I looked at it and I thought, God, that looks like his hand. I keep changing my mind on this.
Yeah.
I keep
Do
changing...
you think it hit his hand?
I thought it hit his hand once I'd seen the replay. But I'll tell you right now, Hugh, I've just said it's a penalty because quite simply I'm only trying to deal with the facts, not everybody's assertion from somebody who's got 1 million followers. I'm only trying to deal with the facts. Andrew Dallas, who's the VAR official, has said to John Beaton, go and have a look at it. End of story. He's seen something, and John Beaton can still say what Stephen McLean said at Fir Park on the Saturday.
Yeah,
no, it's not a penalty.
Yeah, and I think, when John Beaton goes over to that, he's a very experienced referee. As he's trotting over, he knows how big this is. He's not daft. And he's come over and he's been certain.
Because let's not kid
been
ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. If he says no...
Oh...
And there would be a fallout anyway in this situation, because if that game had finished 2-2, it would have gone back to the analysis of the Dizer Maeda, which I thought was a far bigger.
I think it was a bigger trade.
Actually, the penalty Celtic
not
got.
debated.
Not debated.
Not debated.
And not outcry or
It
anything.
wasn't even analysing sports scene. I mean, I think there would have been a fallout anyway.
Absolutely.
So I actually feel a wee bit, I know this is not going to be a popular view, I feel a bit of empathy with these officials, because I think at the minute this is a toxic disease situation.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously, as we know, in the west of Scotland, there's nothing better than something like this to really fan the flames.
It's not just the west of Scotland, Peter. This is
it's
an East of Scotland problem as well. We always say this is a cliche, the west of Scotland, and there's a lot of problems in East of Scotland as well.
Listen, can I tell you something? There are a lot of problems, and I accept that, but there's not as bad the bigotry that's through here.
I would question that.
I would live there for 12 years, Hugh, and while there are people who are bigoted, absolutely, I get it. Scotland has that poison. It's not as...
I don't know. Celtic managers was attacked at Tynecastle.
I accept that point. I accept that point, but it doesn't mean that there's a greater problem through the air.
I don't say greater, but it's a problem.
I don't want to get down that rabbit hole, but what I would say to you is this. I think the aftermath of it, when Derek McInnes says it's a disgusting decision, leaves it wide open as well. It's just added, fuel to the flames, because what's happening now is he's going to get a fine for that, because he's basically inflamed the situation.
Yeah, I mean, in defence of him, he's standing there with a bunch of players with wains, ready to walk onto a park and get a title, basically.
At least his team is directly involved in it.
And he's
like a lot of the people who
so the adrenaline is high. He's thinking, oh my goodness, my life's ambition is going to be realised. I'm going to win a Premier League title after all the kick and the homos at Aberdeen, etc., etc. The Wains are already in get out. Somebody, and that's not to excuse him completely, because he can't take a breath. But that was a high adrenaline moment, and I think he's stepped back a bit from it today. In fairness to him, yeah, he'll be finding properly so for it. But I can actually, as Stephen said, I've got more sympathy for him doing that, because he is. We've got to remember, these people are human beings, and this is, you couldn't put it much higher for McInnes and what's on the line here for him, because this is literally his life's ambition. He's so close to it. Penalty at Motherwell. Oh my goodness! Then he looks at it. So you can see. I think you can see where that's coming from. It's outside forces of people coming on to television shows and generally being very fly and very sly about it, insinuating things, and this would never happen at the other end. And you go, well, would it not? Because his Maida's not a penalty. Well, this always happens to Hearts. And you say, well, Was Shankland's not a handball when he scored at Ibrox? Was the St Mirren goal to go 3-1 not? You know what I mean? People are laying stuff over this. And as Stephen says, 100 times out of 100, it's a cock-up. And I don't think this one is a spectacular cock-up at all.
Well, time will tell on that. The other aspect of this now, though, is we've got to gear ourselves up for the big game. And the other last little point on it, little caveat that obviously started to gather pace here is referees. You have great sympathy for it. I have great sympathy for them because there were accusations long and weary before Andrew Dallas and John Beaton. They made a big call because their integrity is under scrutiny constantly. They made the call. Even their background has been scrutinised before. They made the call as honest officials trying to do their job. And I think, you know, we only have to look at what the news is about to come out with in the next 24 hours. Referees are under pressure and they're being exposed to thugs, Stephen.
Unacceptable pressure. I'm in a really unfair position sometimes. I mean, I always think back to 86 in Dens Park. When George Smith, the Edinburgh referee, pulled out of doing Hearts against Dundee that day, and the SFA pulled in a guy called Bill Crombie. He's a lifelong Hearts fan. And he came in to referee the biggest Hearts game since 1960. And 4 minutes are played, and Colin Hendry chops down Sandy Clark in the box. It is the mother and father of all penalties. These days, be called over to VAR, Hearts will be given a penalty, 1-0, might go on and win the league. But in those days, Bill Crombie thinks, oh God, can't be given a 4th-minute penalty to the team that I support, or whatever his thought process was. He was put in a really invidious position. And we have this situation in this country. We're too small to rule out referees from supporting the team that they may have grown up supporting. People say, I'll get foreign referees. It's not very practical. We have to make do with what we've got. And what we've got quite often isn't absolutely at the top level, but I do think it is they are making mistakes rather than conspiring.
Yeah, I think like the normal guy, the normal supporter, would probably have never met a referee. We've never seen them face to face and never known what kind of people they are. Any referee I've met, I don't know about you, but they are so thorough and professional. They're so focused in doing particularly well because they, like everybody else, have got a progression. They all want to be at World Cup finals. They all want to be taking European ties. They know any mistake or anything will hinder their step, and they're so focused and professional. And me personally, would not think a referee would make that kind of decision based on anything else but football.
Yeah, listen, I think John Beaton, certainly I would not like to see a situation where both John and his family are under threat. And Don Robertson is the referee, and equally so, Roughie, the pressure on this man is going to be, on Kevin Clancy's VAR, the pressure's going to be outrageous. Yeah,
it's going to be, you know, going to need a certain type of individual who have been there and done it, you know, somebody who's been to finals, refereed these kind of games, these pressure games. They'll be able to handle it a wee bit better than others. You guys got a better memory than me. Why did we go to foreign referees the last time?
Because the referees went on strike, or they called it unavailabilities because of the Dougie McDonald game.
See, I don't think we're far away from that. I really don't. And certain referees have got every justification. If what you're talking about is their family is now going to be affected, why would you?
The foreign referees one. Stephen makes a point. There's no way in a sort of well calibrated world that referees who are known to support certain teams and are known should referee those matches. We all accept that, and that's the rule in the big leagues. But you can't have that in Scotland because the pool is so shallow. And then the pool would become even more shallow because, as you say, every referee from 13, 14, now that they're starting, what he wants to do when he's doing, Joe Blogg's under 12s versus so-and-so's under 12s is one day I'm going to walk out a hand in a Scottish Cup final. If he declares he's a Rangers fan at that age, he says, well, I'm not going to get it if Rangers in the final. And you know what? I'll probably not get it if Celtic's in the cup final. So I've got to go 12, 14 years of this and hope that Hearts play Motherwell one cup final and I'm in the frame. So you can't have it. And the admission right will just bring foreign referees in for the big games. It's just an admission of absolute failure. So we're hating that. What we should be doing, and I know there's things going on behind the scenes, even under John Fleming, the late John Fleming, the referees, is improving what we've got and improving what's coming through. And it's very, very difficult to do because it's a pressure point. This is one of the great pressure leagues in the world for what it punches. It really is.
You know only that. You're talking about the shallow pool of referees. And it's getting shallower because VAR is labour intensive.
Aye, exactly.
You need 4 guys for the actual, the officials and the 4th referee. Then you need 2 guys in the VAR booth. So what you're having, you need 6 guys for every Premiership game, and that inevitably is going to mean that young guys who maybe a bit less experienced, haven't maybe done their badges fully, are coming in and getting thrown in at the deep end. And you're seeing them almost kind of learning on the job.
Absolutely.
And they're making all
Absolutely. I mean, I go to all lower league games I go to. And people say, the standard referees appalling. One of the things is, it's very easy to criticise referees. And it's right, they're there to be criticised, as everybody else. But the other thing is, you see very, very young referees at very, very big matches now. We're talking West of Scotland League, even Lowland League. And it's a difficult progression now.
It also is a difficult, would you call it, sell to try and get them to come into it now, because society has changed so much that people think abusing people is fair game. If you're watching presidents actually get involved in it, then you think it's fair game. You watch some people's conduct out in society on social media, then I wouldn't. You could not come up with a fee that would make.
Here's one for Roughie. You keep hearing this argument. Former players who were referees, would it make a difference?
Again, it's the individual, it's how they would adapt to it. I mean, they're saying that to get away from that. I think one of the basic problems is we don't know the rules of the game. I don't think we all know. When you open that referee rule book, what the actual rules are, and it would have to be somebody who, yes, is experienced playing football. Yeah, I think that would be a help. You've got to go with the rules.
No, he's one year.
You've got to know the rules.
Yeah. Listen, absolutely.
And the interpretation.
Nobody knows what the handball rule is.
Well, this is England. What they're trying to do with interpretation of handball is to say, listen, there's tick box and sort of consistency, all of it. And the tick box is, if it hits your hand in the position of your hand, even if it comes off your head and hits your hand, that's a penalty. The deflection doesn't negate it. And they're trying to do that. And then people will say on sort of the internet, social media, if anything, it came off his head and hit his hand, is that a penalty? You go, yeah, it is. It's not what you think is a penalty. I saw the World Cup, I remember the World Cup in Qatar, there was a boy came in and he headed it against a guy. It was one of the early games. And the whole of social media, commentators in football saying, that is never a pen. And you're saying to yourself, it was given by a truckload of FIFA officials to a FIFA referee in the World Cup. The elite of the elite of the elite. And you're saying it's not a pen. What you're really saying is, I don't want that to be a pen. That's a different argument.
Well, listen, that is probably the case for midweek for a number of people. But let's get to the title showdown. It's Celtic against Hearts. And, quite simply, when you look at it, Celtic 1-2, the draw 16-5. Hearts are 15-4. Don Robertson's the referee. Kevin Clancy's on VAR. Derek McInnes has been speaking today and he knows exactly what's at stake.
But there might be a feeling, I think, that there might be people who think, everything's back on script now. Celtic won their home game, won the league, and that's what Celtic have done for the last wee while. They've been the team that win more titles, but we've ripped the script up so often this season, and we've got one more in us, I think, and it's up to us to try and make that happen.
Well, there you are, and I like Derek's attitude to it. He's just thrown the gauntlet down. There's no fudging it. This is what's at stake. You know what you need to do.
Yeah, he's got to focus the players on that as well. He's got to focus the players on the games that they played against Celtic this year. He's got to focus how they ended up. Give them the confidence to walk out onto that park. But the difference this time is there's so much at stake. There's so much at stake and pressure. We've all been, even in work, we've all been in pressure. We've all had to react under pressure.
What pressure have you had? Never been some in your life. You've had no pressure. 3 World Cups.
I had pressure playing my Partick Thistle, believe me or not, every year. No, I think this is a pressure game.
Yeah.
And you're going to bend the dressing room, and you're going to look at your team, and you're going to look at the guys that you played with all year, and you're going to look at the faces, and you're going to say, right, how many have I got in this dressing room that can handle as soon as they walk onto that park? I remember my first Scotland-England game, I was playing with Partick Thistle, went down to Wembley, it was 100,000 there, and you're in the tunnel, you can't see the fans, you can't see anything, you just walk up that walkway. And when you get up that walkway and you see what's up there, that's a different pressure for what you've experienced in your whole life. And you've got to deal with it. You've got to deal with it there and then.
How do you deal with it there and then?
I was quite laid back. It didn't really bother me. I mean, in that particular game, we played against Dumbarton last week, and it was 2,000 at the game. So, I mean...
It was see, when you were walking out there, were you aware that players around about you, did you think even big name players were quite nervous?
Keegan, Ray Clements,
did you think they were nervous?
Yeah, of course. Anybody says they're not nervous. It's the build-up, it's walking across the park, it's standing in the line-up, it's shaking hands, and everyone's going to... Once the game starts, you're focused on what you're doing.
Does Derek McInnes, at that point, before they just go out, 30 seconds before it, does he then have to deliver something that is, I always say, Churchillian in its delivery?
I don't think so, because I think at that time the tensions of his players are so high, and most top managers would say at that moment in time, you just give them one message to go out with, because they're not going to... They'll have done all the shapes and, you know, everything, set pieces, man marking all week. And I think he just has to say one thing for good. And it could be as simple as, listen, this is what, you know, I mean, you hear the great stuff that the guys have said, and they've tried it and what it means to players to say, listen, your families are out there, you know, and your mother and father scrimped to take you to training sessions all over the place and that, and you've worked hard to eat and to do such. Your family's out there today. It's lying out in that park. Just go and take it. It's there. It's in that park. Just go and take it. It's something as simple as that, and that can and what wonders. I mean, there was a great one. The Paraguayan coach before the Copa Libertadores, he would be saying, the Confederation Cups, he was saying to his players, he just said, listen, some of you never had food to eat when you were young. Some of you had to borrow lifts, you know, cycle 6 miles for training, and now you're on the verge of going to a World Cup. If you go out there and get a result, you are going to the World Cup. That's what you need to say.
Well, you make your own history.
Aye.
Be a legend. Yeah. That's all you've got to say.
I mean, imagine
forget about all the Hearts players in the past. You go out there the day and you win that game.
And that's it. That's
your history steeped forever.
It'll be 50 years from now, you'll not be able to get a ticket for an anniversary dinner.
The only thing I was going to say to you, just on that, does he at any point, does he just say, go out and seize it, rather than, does he, I mean, can you even contemplate the line, just don't get beat?
You know, I've no, because Hearts just need to play. I mean, one of the things, one or two Aberdeen fans I know, they used to think that Derek used to overthink things in big games. You know, it's one of the things that would get thrown at him. And I really hope he avoids that this time. Hearts in these games have been excellent by and large. Even at Ibrox, when they lost 4-2, they gave Rangers a real game of it. Just go and play. Just be yourselves, and I think they've got a chance.
They've done it like
really
already.
Do.
This season they've beaten Celtic at Celtic Park.
It's still there for them. It's absolutely there for them, and you know, it's just a case of embracing it. And listen, this Celtic team are vulnerable. They are vulnerable. They are there to be got at. Yeah, they will dominate possession for long spells. They pose a real threat. At home, they will fancy themselves, but I don't think Hearts should be going there fearful in any way.
No.
Yeah, it's a good point you make, because I was listening to Alistair Johnson, who, you know, again, you know, when you get to actually hear a player after the situation, you know, Alistair Johnson, that was another furore. He should have been off. Alistair Johnson today has admitted he was lucky to stay on the pitch after his tackle in the Rangers game. Yep, he moves on. He's obviously tried to avoid all the hysteria for the late penalty call, and he just says, we're happy that we've got a chance to win the title on the final day because it's been 4 seasons in 1 season for Celtic, and that sums it up perfectly, doesn't it?
It's been a bin fire of a season for Celtic. I mean, you look at 4 managerial tenures, okay, only 3 men. You look at some of the poor signings they made, including in January, where in fact, none of them are in the matchday squads. Well, yeah, Oxlade-Chamberlain is on the bench, but doesn't tend to come on. Rohl was unlucky to be injured. He was quite good, but signings haven't been great. They've been at war with their own supporters. The Green Brigade were banned. There was that statement by Dermot Desmond against Brendan Rodgers. I mean, Celtic's season has been a colossal tale of self-harm. And yet, and this probably adds to the furore over the midweek as well, despite Celtic, I think, being acknowledged to be probably one of the poorest teams in green and white since the mid-1990s, they're still in a position to win a League and Cup double. And that must be really galling for their opponents. And for Hearts, so I think, in terms of overall the whole of the season, I think deserve to be champions. I don't deny Martin O'Neill and his players in any way in that way, but I mean, the way Celtic have conducted themselves as a club this season, the way they've went about their business, I don't know if they would be the most deserving champions in the world because they've self-harmed so much.
It's an interesting point, Roughie, because I know
But you would say, a lot of people might say that is one of the reasons where Hearts are where they are. But Hearts have went down at the park and since October they've been top of the league. And any team that's been top of the league for October deserves to be, at the end of the day, a chance to win it. You know, but I mean, as Stephen said, Celtic have been in a mess. You know, obviously all the protests and everything, the signings, the lot. You know that, but they're still there, and they've got a chance to do it. So for the present players in the Celtic dressing room, they're going to walk out there in front of their fans. And they will feel obligated to win that game. And they won't be talking about all the rubbish that's went on throughout the year. The celebrations will be there, will tell you all if they manage to beat Hearts.
Way back in March, Roughie, I did say to you, having looked at all the possible permutations, that 80 to 84 points was going to win this league. And now Hearts are on 80 with a chance to go to 83 points or indeed to go to 81 points and win it. And they've been up there, they've battled away. I don't think anybody is, as we've all discussed, I don't think anybody cares about, whether Rangers and Celtic were imploding, what they were doing. This team still had to go out and win games. And at Tynecastle in the last 3 or 4 weeks, boy, the spectacle, the colour, rolling out Colin Chisholm, singing the Hearts song, and the players have had to, and not just 11, he's had to use the squad, Stephen, to go out there and do the business, and I think they deserve great credit for it. I personally tipped Hearts in January to win the title, but we're now down to the wire. Martin O'Neill today has basically said, we've got a chance to win it. We're going out with all guns blazing. That's his line. And I don't think they're going to be sitting tentatively. There's going to be the majority of 60,000 bar 752 Hearts fans who are screaming them on, and it's at home in their own backyard, Stephen.
Absolutely. And listen, I think we have to roll back a bit on what I was saying in terms of, like, if Celtic do win the league, they'll deserve to win it because the team that finishes top of the league, regardless of everything everybody says, deserves to win the league. Something Walter Smith said in the middle when a lot of conspiracy theories have been thrown around in the early 1990s. And Celtic have given themselves an opportunity they could not have foreseen. They could not have ever imagined that it would come to this position where after this embattled season, they would be sitting 90 minutes away from winning a title with a chance to add a Scottish Cup. And one of the things that struck me recently in recent years was that it didn't always feel as if they necessarily appreciated or enjoyed the league titles. Maybe because fans get to a point where it becomes a bit normal, a bit blasé. They should appreciate this one. They should enjoy this one because, okay, it's not a fairy tale because with the advantages Celtic have and the money they have, they should be winning the league. But most of this season, it hasn't looked very likely. So if they win it tomorrow, they should savour it.
How much of it will go to this man behind us on the wall?
Huge, absolutely huge, because I think football moves so quickly. It moves so quickly that we can, we're not even talking about, a crucial game last Sunday now. It doesn't get mentioned. And football moves like that. And what we've got to remember was what the case was when Martin O'Neill came in, and here's the clincher for the first time. Amazing for the first time this season. And he comes in where the manager's been resigned. Dermot Desmond.
What a brilliant line there, eh? The manager's been resigned.
Dermot Desmond has come out and just
Leathered the fans.
thrown the. No, that was Ross. Dermot saved his saved his vitriol for the manager.
You don't think Ross wrote that, do you?
And so you've got that, and the Martin Neal walks into this when people say, "Not a penny more. We're not going back. Not going back." And one of the great stories is the way that is flipped. I mean, you walk out of Celtic Park tomorrow, there's not going to be people with signs of sack the board or booing or anything. He's coalesced on that. I mean, I think there's a pretty persuasive case if they'd said to him, a couple of games into his first tenure is, listen, we're getting an MLS manager in next summer, and this is who it is, and we'd like you to interact with him through the season, but if it's up to you, can you stay on during the season? I think there is at least a possibility that the league would have been won. I think the Nonksy thing was it put the whole thing in jeopardy, shall we say.
Whatever happens now, even if they don't win it toward, they owe them a big vote for it.
And an unlikely one as well, because it could have gone all Premiership, because you can't imagine Martin and Neil sitting in and saying, we're going to play with inverted fullbacks and, I want you to make... So he, to his credit, has come in and known what he can do and known what he doesn't want to do, and then left much of the coaching. There's been a bit of humility there, left him out of the coach. And what he's intended to be is a figurehead for the club. And it's got them to where they are. And I think about Roughie's, if we talk about the game tomorrow, if you're talking about Hearts, I think the things in Hearts' favour is we only need a draw. That's a good place to be. We'll come here before and we've won. See, this isn't a great Celtic side. So that's the things in their favour.
Yeah.
And Celtic's favour is the crowd, the run that they've been on, because they haven't had an easy game. I mean, the Falkirk probably was the easiest game in the last few weeks, and even it was tight at times. So they've ground out, and it's a Roughie's point where you're sitting in the dressing room and you look up for your boots and you go, there's a lot of guys here that this is another day at the office. It's an exciting day at the office, but it's another day. This is what we do. This is what Callum McGregor does. This is what Maida does. This is what, even younger players like Engels, Johnston, Trusty, this is what we do. We go out in this park, face up with 60,000 fans going mental, and we win.
You know how to win because they've done it repeatedly.
Do you think it's his greatest ever achievement if he pulls it off?
I don't think it would top Seville for me getting to Seville.
They lost.
Still got to a European final.
Roughie?
I think we've been out of the game for so long, and coming back in and doing what he's doing is absolutely incredible. But
he didn't have the 11 that he had in Seville.
No,
I'll tell you right now, that squad that he's got is way, way short. And
That's a fair point.
I would only say that McGregor is the only one that would get on the bench of that Seville team.
I think we'd all agree with that. But I think going to Seville was, if you asked him, it'd be up there.
I think if Celtic win that title tomorrow, I think somebody will say to him, where does this rank? And I think he will say it's his greatest ever achievement. That is, he's had one arm tied behind his back at times, and then he's had to come in and take over from the worst appointment in the history of Celtic Football Club.
You know what I think it does actually, and it emphasises, and I'm sure we'll talk about Danny Rowe at some point. I think it emphasises that in that job, be it Celtic or be it Rangers, you need a personality.
Aye.
Yeah.
You need somebody with clout, you need somebody with charisma, somebody with gravitas. You need a big man for a big blazer, and I think Martin O'Neill is that man, a bit like Walter Smith was with Rangers.
Prediction, Roughie?
I've already said, I hope it's a good game, hope it's no VAR, and I'm going to go Celtic to win 2-1.
I genuinely echo your sentiments on the VAR. I just hope the referee is not debating a handball, a penalty kick or something. Can you see Hearts going there, getting the point they need.
Don't think it's impossible, but like Roughie, I think Kelechi Iheanacho will come off the bench and win the league for Celtic in the last few minutes on a very tense, nervous day.
Goodness. Bring the defibrillators to Celtic Park. I think Hearts are really very much in it. I've got great reservations about the Celtic side, really great reservations. I thought, what's overlooked in the Motherwell game was you watch the Motherwell game and I'm not saying Motherwell played, they did play Celtic time. Motherwell were worthy of a draw. If you go into even the Maidas and all that. So if Motherwell, can be in fourth place, cause problems for Celtic, why shouldn't Hearts at Celtic Park tomorrow? I'm going to go the cliched answer. I think the first 20 minutes is going to be hugely important. If Celtic get a breakthrough early, it'll be so important for them. I think Hearts are capable of taking a point tomorrow.
Well, I mean, look, Claudio Braga's been a great signing for Hearts. For £500,000, terrific value. But for me, on Shankland is
Shankland's a man.
Shankland is a man.
And if we talk tactically tomorrow as well, we know what McInnes is going to do tomorrow. He's not going to play like Motherwell tomorrow. He's going to get the ball. He's going to bypass his midfield and get his ball to the front three and say, we can probably get at the Celtic defence. And Shankland can muscle Trusty.
Always good for a goal in this.
And he can muscle Trusty, and we get set pieces. We're terrific at set pieces. We'll cause Celtic real problems at corners with set pieces. I don't think it's in any way cut and dried.
Best front two in the country for me this season.
Absolutely.
You going for Hearts?
I think Hearts have got enough to get a point.
Okay, I tipped Hearts from January, Roughie, but I cannot see them. I can't see Hearts going into 60,000 Celtic fans and winning.
I think
I see Celtic winning by a goal.
I think another thing that's not helping them at all is they've lost two of their best players, Halkett and Leonard.
Yeah,
They were the two. They were the two mainstay for the last month or so, and now they've been taken out of that team, so they're not at their best 11.
Here's one for you. Say it had been 2-2 the other night, Celtic had had to win 3-0 tomorrow. Would any of us be giving Celtic a prayer?
Not a chance. No, because they are weak at the back.
And they're not great up front.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't score a lot of goals.
What he does well is he's now utilising that whole squad to come and do things and change things. If he needs to throw somebody on, it makes a difference.
Yeah, I'm saying he doesn't score a lot. They've scored 3 in the last 2 games, but they have lost goals in the last 2 games. And they haven't got a goal scorer if you take Nygren out of it. And Nygren is so incredible. You sit and watch the Far Park game and you say to yourself, who came at half time? He's worse than it's worse.
Somebody said he only scores goals, and I
That's
thought,
it. But he does, and what a goal to score.
I know, Hugh, I can't disagree with you.
Again, if he did everything else and could score goals like that, he'd be at
But it does show.
the EPL.
It does show. Takes us back to how big that penalty was the other night there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, aye.
The good news is the helicopter pilot doesn't really need to take off. He can just take the trophy out and give it to.
Give the helicopter.
Give it to Callum McGregor,
It's a
or
black
give
cab.
it to Lawrence Shankland. It's just
On the subject of transport, open top bus in Edinburgh.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Since Aberdeen in the 80s, I can't remember a team winning the league and having an open top bus.
I think they'll meet at the City Chambers, and then it's the roll all the way down to Gorgie in the afternoon at 3 o'clock. Wow. I'm obviously, if that happens, Roughie, I'm obviously going to have to go and cover it. So I'll be wearing a red dress and a blonde wig and a microphone.
It's a normal Sunday for you.
The Hearts chief exec's meant to be coming to my table at the football writers' dinner, and they've already been warned that if they win the league, he's not going to be there. Okay, fair enough.
Thank you to so many of you for all your points on this, because the majority of people who have been with us for the whole season, I want to thank each and every one of you. You've been with us for the whole season. The majority of people, I would say as high as 99%, are football fans who love their team, who love the football, and are fairly sensible in their approach. So I do apologise from time to time on our live feed for numpties. It's the only way I can sum it up, who delve into an area where we don't want to go. But lots of people have opinions on it, and we welcome them all, because we're not the light, the way, and the truth on this. You're only reacting to what referees and VAR assistants, officials will say about it. And what we have now is a title race that's gone down to the last day. So we've given you our opinion, and thanks to so many who've given their opinion as well. We'll quickly run through the other games. Hard to believe that just took us all the way through to 10-2. But let me just quickly say to you, What's your thoughts on Danny Rohl? He's standing by his decision on it. Here's what Danny Rohl, the Rangers manager, had to say on the James Tavernier debacle.
I think I was from the first part on very clear and open to him, and I think that was the reason why it was also my wish and suggest that he gets a proper goodbye on Wednesday. But also in this time, I always said to him, it could be you start, it could be you come from the bench. This is not the point. I think if you ask me what was in my head for this day, it was at first take 3 points, win a game, see Tev with his family walking in, take the trophy what he deserved, make a round, a walk around the stadium, and then finally get some minutes on the pitch.
Well, that didn't happen. I thought they didn't win the game either against Hibs. No. It was a dead rubber. I kind of lost a wee bit of respect. I thought James Tavernier deserved more than that.
Yeah, I think Tavernier would think so as well, you know, but for me there seems to be a lack of communication between the two of them. I see, did they not talk to each other anymore? I see it was messaging. I messaged him and he messaged me back, and that surely this is a face-to-face thing. Like I really want to come on the park. Why? I don't see why he couldn't have just went on the park before the game. I mean, the players line up anyway before the game starts. If he's a substitute, he's a substitute. He could still have went on the park and full house. Why wait until the end of the game that you get beat 2-1? Do you really want to go on the park where you've just been beat 2-1?
Would your captain not have deserved to have walked that team out with his kids in his arms? Their third, nothing changes. Is he detrimental to the side?
I thought it was a strange hill to die on for Danny Rohl. I thought it was a strange fight to pick. I don't know. I mean, look, he did get criticism at Celtic Park for picking James Tavernier ahead of Dujon Sterling. And he'd lost 3 in a row. As a Rangers manager, we know you don't lose 3 in a row. You certainly don't lose 4 in a row. If you are hopeful of having a long-term tenure. Now, Andrew Kavanagh wants to hang on to Danny Rohl, so there shouldn't be a major question over that just yet. But I thought it was a strange move, even allowing for the fact he's a manager, he makes the decisions. It was still a relatively meaningless game. Pick the captain, 11 years, brilliant value for money, give him a send-off.
I go against that. I think I'm very strong. I don't think players deserve anything. That's the way. You know, seriously, it's a big business. Danny Rohl's sitting there. He's lost 3 games in a trot. He's going to create history against Hibs if he loses a 4th. OK, Kavanagh's sitting by him. If he loses against Hibs, then he loses against Falkirk. They've got no Champions League. They've waved bye-bye to 40, 50 million. They're going to have a £16 million share issue on the back of a catastrophic end to the season. Danny Rohl's smart enough to say, listen, this isn't a dead rubber for me.
And I don't see why he couldn't have walked onto the park.
That's because you're a nice guy. Because you're the...
And waved to everybody.
See if you go before him. He's not turning up at your funeral.
I will be turning up because I've got disturbance fee and it's in my contract. I'm not going for any sentimental reasons.
No, the good thing is, Roughie, when we brought Hugh in 2 weeks into it, you know, he was enjoying it that much. In the 4th week, he said, do we need Roughie?
And you know what? Do we need Roughie?
Yeah. Exactly. You're a harsh man.
No, but I just think, you know, the sentimentality. Yeah, Roughie's got a good idea. Get him on before the game. But that was a big game for Rohl.
Yeah, and he lost it. Yeah. OK. Falkirk Rangers. Just give us a quick prediction.
Who knows? The way Rangers are at the moment, I think and there's stuff going on there. This Raskin injury hasn't been fully explained to me either. Not that that's their first imperative. It's come to my house and tell me. But, you know, there seems to be things going on in the background there at the moment. Not that I could see that. I could see that being a draw.
Yeah.
I think Falkirk have run their race. Great season, brilliant. Like everything comes to an end, I think Rangers will win 2-1.
For that reason, Rangers win.
Yep, Rangers win for me as well. Jens Bertel Askau, the Motherwell manager, thankfully he came in to our league and made the whole season a joy for me, because the amount of times I travelled to Fir Park to watch football the way I love to see it played. Well done, Jens Berthel Askau. You've been an absolute breath of fresh air. I've loved every minute of watching Motherwell. That's the way I love football.
Are you talking past tense?
Yeah, because I think he'll be off-ski. But nevertheless, he came out today and talked about what Scottish football needs.
It's not just the software and the amount of cameras and resources they have available that has to improve. We also have to be better. We have to invest in better infrastructure. We need better pitches. We need a better training ground. We need better stadiums. Some of them are growing a little bit old here and there. And we need players to improve. We need better coaching as well.
Well, there you are. I mean, Stephen Presley, I was with him a couple of weeks ago, and he said, you know, Dundee, we need a better training facility. Lots of people need that, but you know, there's lots of things that they need. But when you're paying for VAR, it's taking a fair bit out of your budget.
I quite like a date with Margot Robbie. It doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
how
you
much
know,
would that cost for yourself? I'm just trying to get a figure.
I think higher than it would for most other folk.
Margot Robbie's saving up for it at the moment as we speak.
I mean, yeah, look, it's a long wish list. And yeah, I don't know that Jens Bertel is going to be around here too long to worry too much about the investment in Scottish football.
Is he going to beat Hibs?
I hope so. They deserve fourth.
Yeah, I've got Motherwell to win too.
Well, I've been sitting with Peter all year and he's been bumming his guts about Motherwell all year because he goes to see them and that. But there's a bit of Hugh now rubbed off in me. He's going to Plums. Hibs are going to beat them 2-1 and they're not getting into Europe.
And Motherwell's form,
They still could get into Europe.
Well,
depending on what
that'll
happens
be
in the cup
harder.
final.
Motherwell's form's appalling. You know, that's,
1 and 8, is it?
So you
Still
know,
played well against Celtic, to be fair to them.
yeah, but it's that bottom line. They listen, they deserve something against Celtic. You know, and the most cynical and biased, they said they played really well against it, but they need points, and they've not been racking up the points.
Yeah.
So I think Hibs can beat them.
Do you think Celtic will get him as a manager?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't know. I've got no inside look at it, but I think many people at Celtic might look at the fact that. I mean, his positives for me is he's got a distinct style, and if you got him now, he'd have a chance to impose it at Celtic. He would work as a head coach, and he would work with a transfer strategy. The downside of it is his experience. I think Stephen correctly looks at you need a personality, a Celtic manager, etc., etc. I think he's got a bit of that in him, but he's also got. If you look at Motherwell's season, apart, you know, everybody's been impressed, but if you look at really forensically, there's been big games that he's lost and lost badly. They should have surely have beaten a rotten St Mirren team to get into a League Cup final, and he should surely have made much better of a Scottish Cup run than they lost at Aberdeen. I know there was extenuating circumstances, and 1-1 in 8, and people at Motherwell still throw roses at your feet. 1-1 at 8 at Celtic Park, and you're out the door.
Yeah.
think-
Do you like anybody?
No.
I think Toulouse have been watching Jens Bertel Askau for quite some time.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance of that one.
Celtic?
Why not?
Okay, interesting. There you have it. You have your answer on that one. Just on the bottom 6 on the Sunday, Dundee against Aberdeen. Roughie, prediction?
1 each.
Dundee.
Dundee to win for me.
The bottom 6 is the most flat as a pancake. Bottom 6.
Hold on, it's the last day.
I
Don't
know.
be critical.
We're not talking about that. Oh, Scottish football comes to a soaring climax, and then you look at it and go, I don't care.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's
Dundee.
even-
I think Dundee will. No, I'd like to see Presley have a good end to the season. I think Presley's been a great story this season.
Yeah, I think Stephen Robinson's been a great story. If only you'd listened to us a year ago when I told you, Don's fans. I just thought I'd leave you with that last leathering. Livingston against Kilmarnock. Kelly to win for me, Roughie.
Kelly, yep. Kelly on a run.
Now I'm going Livingston.
What?
Kelly's race is one.
Okay.
I'll go Kelly because I like the way McCann's setting them up at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. St Mirren against Dundee United, Roughie.
St Mirren manager's got a problem there. He's got a big game coming up, bigger than this one. So he has to get his team selection right and win the game and go into the playoff with a winning team.
A real balance between momentum and resting players, isn't it?
Yeah.
Draw.
Yeah, I'm going to go United because I think St Mirren are just, I think they've gone.
No. Well, I think the permutations and team selection and what they call recovery now, yeah, I think it's huge. I'll be watching tonight's game really closely, Thistle versus Dunfermline, because they'll look at this and say, do you know what, we've got a chance.
Well, this is the first time in a wee while that I think the Championship side can take St Mirren. I think Thistle, with home advantage, can win this.
I think they can as well, but I think Dunfermline, the way Lennon sets Dunfermline, I think we've said this many times and I was going to get slaughtered. Lennon's a top-class manager, top-class coach, and I'm not denying that the same Mark Wilson is. I think Lenny would take a draw the night and go to pens.
Yeah. Stephen?
I'd say I'm going to extra time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this will go to penalties. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Stephen, on the last day of the season when there's so much at stake, is it enough to get you out of the area where you live in to go and get to a game?
Well, I'm more concerned with who's going to win the Eurovision Song Contest tomorrow night. So,
Who'd you fancy?
Albania. By the way, I foolishly, as you start to troll the channels, right, and believe me, that's the last thing I would troll onto, and I put it on, and the next minute I went, Eurovision Song Contest, Australia? What? What happened to the old days of Vicky Leandros just winning it from Luxembourg? But it's gone.
It's gone. No, I'll be at the big game tomorrow. I'll be savouring the great atmosphere of all things in the capital. I'm heading to Edinburgh City versus Brora Rangers.
Fantastic, Hugh. I'm so glad I'm not hanging about with you tomorrow. What a weekend it is. But remember, by the way, I think Hugh summed it up beautifully. It's only a game of football. We love talking about it. It's given us so much. But it is only a game of football. Go to the game if you are going to any of the games. Just support your team. Get home safely. That's what it's all about, and enjoy your family, and of course spare a thought for the referees and the VAR officials, because it's going to be one hell of a tough weekend. The showdown, who's going to win it? Is it going to be the Celtic fans celebrating at Celtic Park, or will it be that small 752 lucky enough to get the tickets, witnessing the most unbelievable moment in history, a 66-year wait for Hearts to finally get their hands on the top flight title again? Is Derek McInnes about to be accorded legendary status down Gorgie Way? We will keep you right up to date with what's happening across all of the matches over the weekend. Don't forget, you can get it all at your fingertips on the app as well as our website. And if you hit the subscribe button, you're going to get lots more content all the way through the summer. We'll be covering World Cup and obviously the Scottish Cup still to come as well. But right across this weekend, we'll have reaction from the managers and players involved in the big matches. And listen, it's been some season, Roughie, hasn't it?
It's been great. And you have to, we're talking about Hearts, you have to give Hearts a great deal of credit. They've been keeping us on our toes. Everybody right at the very beginning, who's going to split the old firm, who's going to do this, and they've come up with the goods.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing you want to see, and I don't want to see it just before I give you the quiz answer, Stephen, is I don't really want to see all those pictures of crying kids and people who are, you know, either Hearts or Celtic fans greeting, you know, the thought of me having to look and see Rod Stewart greeting if it all goes pear-shaped, or Michael Stewart if it all goes pear-shaped, just outside the city chambers. Be a nightmare.
Is Michael allowed in?
Some more pertinent
That's your first question there. Yeah. What was the question again?
It was just an observation.
Okay, thanks.
You know those glum fans at the end, they can't believe it, they're crying, and they take their kid there and their kid's crying. It just has a detrimental effect on them. Psychologically, it's a nightmare. How many domestic trophies had Callum McGregor? 1, and somebody said 24.
I've written it often enough, I should know that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve McGowan nails it. Did you get the answer? Thank you to so many of you for joining us with your opinions as well. It's going to be a humdinger of a weekend. Showdown. Celtic against Hearts. Martin O'Neill against Derek McInnes. It's East against West. What a battle. I cannot wait. Thank you to Hugh. Thank you to Steve McGowan. Thank you to Roughie. And thank you to you for watching and listening.